Hi, everyone. Good morning, or whatever time you're watching from, or where it is a good evening from my area. I hope you're doing well, and you're most welcome to Reflections That Inspire podcast. This is our first podcast ever, and we are very, very excited. Reflections That Inspire is a leadership forum where we meet twice a month, the first Saturday and the third Saturday of the month, to discuss issues that pertain to leaders' development, personal growth, and actually we try to discuss issues that hinder and issues that help us to move forward in our development. Everyone wants to be that effective leader, but what we are never told is how. So here we normally join with the leaders from great and diverse backgrounds, different areas, different communities, actually globally, to discuss issues that pertain to our growth. So this session, we have a guest speaker, and our guest speaker is with me today, and we are going to tackle a topic on the big picture. So we've got my guest speaker, Joyce. Joyce, how are you doing?
I'm good, Jen. How are you?
I'm well.
Good,
How's
good.
your
Good
day?
to hear your voice again, and to
yes,
part
yes.
of reflections that inspire. Yeah.
Yes, and over time we've been truly inspired by the reflections from various leaders, and I hope that is the same to you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, great, great. So, Joyce, let's just dive into the topic. Our topic is the big picture, and our guest speaker is Joyce Chimain. Joyce, so many people go through life, and not so many people, include myself. I went through life not knowing what the big picture, not knowing the purpose, and I found it such a struggle. At what point of your life did you realize the issue of having the big picture?
Wow. Jen, I probably would say I'm in the same place, like what you have described. I think for me, the big picture has been evolving, if I would say. Yeah. The big picture that I had 10 years, my younger self, and the big picture that I have now is completely different. And reason being the experiences and my leadership journey, as well as my personal life, as helped my big picture to evolve and really make sure that it's aligned to my values and aligned to the things that I believe in. Meaning that there are certain things probably when I was younger were a priority, or I thought, were really good or would anchor me in my big picture. But now I would say I've matured over the years. I have learned a lot. I've been through experiences that have really shaped my big picture. So I would say my big picture is still evolving, but I seem to have it somewhere now at a point where I feel I can confidently say this is where I am and this is where I would want to go. Yep.
Excellent, excellent. I'm happy to learn that it is evolving, it's in the making, and by the experiences that you've gone through different, maybe people you've met, maybe through the events that you've gone through, maybe through your career. Maybe just to be more a little specific, what is the big picture to you?
Thanks, Jen. So I think the big picture for me is really having a complete understanding of a situation, or having a complete understanding of an issue. So to bring it home, I would say the big picture for me is really, what is it that I want to get out of my career? What do I want to get out of me being a mother, my family, I would say? What do I want to get out of my wellness, really? So that is my physical wellness, my mental wellness, my social wellness, basically to say, what do I want to get out of the different wheels of my life? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful. That's really deep, Joyce, and it sounds you've really considered your big picture. Could you share with us kindly 2 areas maybe that you find yourself focusing on currently?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Thank you for kind of narrowing that down because, I wear different hats. One moment I'm a mother, the next moment I'm a wife, I'm a professional lady, I'm a fitness enthusiast. And so I just want to narrow down to 2 this evening. And one is really on my career, and the second one would be on my wellness. So in terms of my career, at this point, I work for Save the Children in Ethiopia. So I have basically moved from home and relocated to Ethiopia to work here. So for me, the big picture at this point is, why am I in Ethiopia at this point in my life, and what do I want to get out of me being away from home? What is that I want to get out of my career? So my big picture is really, one, I really want to grow in terms of my career, being able to take my experiences and my skills to the next level, serving in a different context, working with people of a different culture, but also having the opportunity to share what I have, being able to pour out my skills and my experiences to my team in Ethiopia, while at the same time being able to inspire them to be the best of who they can. Basically, I would say it's really about having a significant contribution in my career while here, and being purposeful to leave a legacy for the time that I will work here in Ethiopia. So I would say that's really around my career. But in terms of wellness, it's really then, how does my wellness, how does my being in good health enable my ability to achieve what I would say effectiveness in my career goals. So I do a couple of things as far as wellness is concerned. I swim, I cycle, I hike. But tonight I just want to focus on hiking because it's one that, has pushed me, what I would say, to lengths, to very great limits. So a few years ago, I had an opportunity to climb Mount Kilimanjaro to the highest peak. That's Uhuru Peak at 5,960 meters. And that was my big picture, really, I would say those 2 years. And it's one that I would say still remains a big picture for me, because it really redefined how I look at things, that it's possible to stretch my wellness capabilities to the greatest limit that it can get. So at that point, for me to be able to summit Mount Kilimanjaro, it entailed, waking up in the morning, having to work out, having to go for hikes over the weekend, small hills here and there, just to build up the resistance and the resilience and just the mental strength and the physical strength to be able to summit Mount Kilimanjaro. So that big picture that I had at that point of summiting Kilimanjaro is still really the big picture for me in terms of my wellness, meaning that I push my limits in terms of my fitness, because I believe that good health is the greatest asset. It's true wealth, I would say, that anybody would have. Because if I'm not in good health, mentally, physically, socially, emotionally, then I'm not able to be effective in my work. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Joyce, I'm curious about one thing, please. There are a lot of wellness programs that one would think about, the common ones that we do. How did you arrive at hiking? What happened?
Wow, Jen, really, let's see. So I think when I turned, I think 40 years, I would say, I said, I need to do something different. I'd had people say 40 is when life begins. And I think I challenged myself and said, okay, if life is beginning at 40, it had better begin on a high note. It had better be something different. It had better be something great. It had better be something that will launch me proper into, this thing that, is said, it's where life begins. And that's when I really came up with this big picture. And I started off actually with Mount Kenya. So I did climb Mount Kenya, and so I asked who organizes for these hikes, and somebody gave me referrals here and there, and I started with the hikes that they organized. The next thing I'm hearing, we are planning Mount Kenya, and I said, I'm game. What do I need to do to get ready for it? And I was completely immersed into the whole process. I trusted the process, and I think it's because I had the big picture. I needed to do something big. I needed to do something different for me to be able to launch into my 40s, I would say. And Mount Kenya became my launching pad for my hiking. And there, I was able to do Kilimanjaro, and I have never looked back. Yep.
Wow, that is exciting. That is exciting. Now, you are there at 40 and you decided you want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. What was your goal by then? What was your goal by then? And you've mentioned that your big picture keeps changing and not changing, but evolving. How was it then? And how do you see it now? What has changed?
I think at that point, I really wanted, like I said, I wanted to do something that was different. I wanted to do something that would really, truly define my next phase, my 40s, in a very significant way. And I think it has done that. And what I would say now is what has truly changed is, one, I think I'm at that place where, because of being able to scale, what I would say, be able to push beyond these obstacles of climbing the hills, because when you do climb these mountains, I mean, if you have not climbed, even if I use 1,000 words to describe it, it cannot quite describe what it takes to summit. It's exhausting, it's stretching, it's humiliating, it's humbling, it's everything that you would want to define any challenge of that nature. So at this point, I'm in that place where when I face a difficult challenge, the first thing that comes to mind is, Joyce, if you're able to get to the highest freestanding mountain in the world, what is hard for you? What can't you do? So it's become my reference point. It's become that place where I draw into when I feel, I'm facing a difficult task, I'm facing a challenging situation. It's kind of become my fueling point. I go there to recharge. I go there to get perspective. I got there to reflect and give myself that pat and say, Joyce, you can do it. You did it. You can do it. This is nothing, Yeah. So it's become my anchor. It's become that place where I go to be lifted up again, to be able to move on. Yeah.
Wow, that is interesting, Joyce. And that is true that you find it more fulfilling over time. It's not just for exercise, but yes, it's exercise, right? But from different angles, not just the body, but I can hear from what you're saying. It's a sense of fulfillment, reassurance. And this comes, I believe, with kind of awareness now of handling of knowing what you can handle, that you can reassure yourself that, yes, Joyce, you can do this. It maybe sounds like it's out of something that you've realized what you could do, your capacity. Is that so?
So true, Jen. Actually, you brought in a very important concept there. You talked about awareness. So just to ride on that and say, it's really been about self-awareness. It's been a personal journey of discovering who I am. Who is Joyce, really? It's been that journey. And I would say walking through those trails of hiking, for example, has been moments of self-reflection and self-awareness in terms of, understanding what are my strengths, What are my weaknesses? What are my actions? What drives me? What is that wakes me up? What do I truly live for? What's my why? So just that self-awareness of being able to honestly and realistically and accurately assess myself, honestly, in terms of what are my strengths, what am I good at, and being able to play into my strengths and harness those strengths to the best that it can get, even at my workplace, being able to know that this is what I'm good at. And these are the areas that, I would need my colleagues or my team members to come in and, support or bring in their expertise for me to be able to operate what I would say at my optimum as a leader. So Jen, in addition to the hiking and the trails giving me the opportunity to just reflect and do a self-assessment, I've also been able to do a couple of personality tests over the years. Yeah. So I have done the Myers-Briggs personality test, the Hogan personality test, and as recent as 2 weeks ago, I'm going through a talent coaching program at work. And one of the requirements was to do another personality test. It's called the Clifton Strengths 34 profile that is able to really tell what kind of a person you are. And it's interesting that over the years, my personality traits have remained consistent. And with that knowledge of who I am and what are my strengths, then I've been able to truly know who I am and be comfortable with that fact. So for example, one of the traits that has been prominent over and over is that I am an enabling leader. I'm that leader who is able to catch an idea and make it a reality. So, and truly defines who I am, yeah. So then as a leader and while working with a team and working with my senior leadership team, then I'm comfortable to know I may not be that person who will give you the most brilliant ideas that you would want. I'm sure you've all been in teams where you have these team members who are they have all these crazy ideas just popping out of their heads, and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't even figure out one idea, to contribute. But I've come to that place where I am comfortable to say, you know what, I'm not a creative, but you know what, I will make your idea come to reality. I will catch that idea, implement it for you, and make it a reality. So it's really playing into my strengths and using those strengths to contribute into my leadership team, but also to take my leadership to that next level by being able to define truly who I am. And that has come out of self-awareness. And I'm in that place where I'm truly comfortable to say, you know what, guys, I absolutely have no idea what you guys are talking about in the future. But you know what, when you're kind of done with the whole, storming and brainstorming, let me know. I can figure out for you how we will make it a reality. And that has been quite fulfilling and energizing for me. I no longer become what I would say a prisoner to my emotions and feeling, I'm not able to be somebody else. I've truly come to that place where I have appreciated my uniqueness and the giftings and the talents that I have. Yeah.
Look at that. It's really a big thinker perspective. I love that, because when you say that you are able to get what your colleagues talk about, once they've brainstormed, you can collect what they've talked about and really help it or align it with what is expected. That just confirms how big picture thought-oriented you are. That is very true. And maybe one more thing that big picture thinkers are associated with. They're curious, they're ambitious, just the way you've mentioned. Hiking is not a small task for some of us. There is a tendency of the big picture thinkers to overlook the details or the small things. And you've also mentioned that. How has this affected you?
Thanks, Jane. I mean, you've spot on. You've really brought that very well. I think again, it just ties into the self-awareness bit. So when you have the big picture, it's being very aware that the big picture is here, but for one to get to the big picture, what are the bricks? What are the small pieces that tie up into the big picture? But also having the sensitivity and the alertness to be able to know when to get into the details without burying your head under the table. What I usually like to call having the balcony view. Balcony view is where you're able to leave the dance floor, where the activity is happening, where the small details are happening, and be able to go up to the balcony so that you're able to have that view of what's happening down there and able to tell who is stepping on who is not dancing, who is not doing what, because it's those pieces that really play into the big picture. So I would say it's important to have the small detail in perspective, but also being able to discern and be able to know when you need to pull out of the small details and begin to work on the big rocks, So I like to use the analogy of the glass, the pebbles, and the rocks. So that means you have this big glass, you have the rocks, and you have the pebbles. How do you start laying that out? If you begin with the pebbles and you put the rocks, that glass you can't fill it up. But when you begin with the rocks and put inside the glass, I usually like to do this in a physical demonstration, but I hope the audience will be able to appreciate this. When you take a glass and you put the rocks inside, it means this is your big picture. You put it in there. And then the pebbles are the small details now that we are talking about. So when you pour the pebbles into the glass where the rocks are, it will fit into the glass perfectly because the pebbles kind of sip into the little spaces that the big rocks create. So really you cannot ignore the two. It's really about having the ability to know how to align everything together. What needs to go first and what needs to come next, and at what point do you need to maybe rearrange, reprioritize, relook at the big picture. Like I said, my big picture has been evolving over time. And I would just want to say, for example, when I'm here in Ethiopia, and because of the security situation here, I have not been able to do as much hiking as I would have loved if I was back home. However, I've been able to substitute that differently. And I have other options that will supplement hiking. So it's about not being static, being able to evolve, being agile and adaptable, but still having your big picture very clear on exactly what you want to achieve. Yeah.
Wonderful, 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 Joyce. I hear from you a lot of understanding of the self. So much that you've learned about yourself, how to prepare. Takes a lot of understanding of your strengths, what you need to know, and you're quite intentional about the big picture of what to put first, with that illustration of the pebbles and the glass and the water. So Joyce, thank you very much. Thank you very much for being our guest speaker in this session of the big picture. And just one more last question before we conclude. You have mentioned about your evolving big picture. You are a leader and you are a hiker. How do you merge this? And at the end of the day, what legacy do you want to leave people who want to learn hiking and leadership?
Good. Jane, I actually like to use hiking and leadership together because how you look at the two is what I would say the other side of the coin. Because for a leader, you cannot be a leader without followers. But you can be a hiker without followers. So if you're leading and there are no people, you don't have followers, you're basically a hiker. So the learnings that I get out of my hiking, it's not about the solo hike of aiming at the summit. It's totally different for leadership. It's about my followers. Where are they? I don't want to get at the top there and wonder, guys, where are you? At what point did I leave you behind? I need to have them together. So I think in just terms of saying hiking and leadership, first of all, just to tell my audience, hiking is a great sport. Anybody can do it. It's doable. It's enjoyable. So get inspired to join the bandwagon. But in terms of my leadership legacy, I really would like to just, echo the words of John Maxwell, who said that if your actions inspire others to learn, inspire others to grow, inspires others to dream, then you're a great leader.
Wonderful, wonderful, Joyce. You are indeed a great leader. Thank you once more. Thank you very much. And members, the audience, thank you so much for watching this session. As I mentioned from the beginning, this is our first session of podcast on Reflections That Inspire. And our topic today was the big picture. And our guest speaker was Joyce Chemei. Thank you so much. And let's connect next time.
Thank you, Jen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Joyce.